I was wrong. I thought I understood what DevOps was, and now I realise I really didn't have any idea what I was talking about. Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. I'm Chris, and I'm a cloud enthusiast. Recently I've been reading a couple of books that have completely changed my entire perspective on DevOps as a whole. I originally was under the belief that DevOps is kind of like this understanding between development and operations, where now they coincide, they're friendly, and we build automation tools that we make the life of the developer and the operations engineers easier. And that was pretty much it. I thought if I knew CI/CD, if I knew automation tools, pipeline tools, and ways in which that I could improve the efficiency of the task, then essentially I could class myself as a DevOps engineer. Rolling it back, some of the first documented sort of tooling, if you will, that could be identified as DevOps was recorded, I think, in 1980 in plant manufacturers, in warehouses, places where there was lots of manual labour, lots of work centres that were dependent on each other, places that, like creating cars, like automobile warehouses. And there was this method that was introduced that later was coined as DevOps, when really the principles that we're applying in DevOps are tools and methods that have been applied in manufacturing warehouses 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago now. And I found that truly fascinating. As I understand it now, DevOps is a methodology and cultural understanding that extends way beyond just development and operations. It is an entire business-wide scope and understanding of the collective working towards a business goal. If it's not adding value to the business goal, then it's not being, it's not beneficial. It shouldn't be being worked on. It's completely changed my perspective. One of the key things that comprises of DevOps is, the third way, which is dependent on a cultural understanding of trust and honesty, this blameless culture where you go in there with this attitude of fail fast. But to have it as a company-wide understanding, that would make sense. If we were talking about, product, finance, back-end, front-end operations, the entire group of the business would need to have this blameless culture to be a true DevOps company. I mean, every company now is IT based. They can't say that IT is not definitive in their progression and business growth, as that's just the world we live in. We live in a world where everything is based on IT. Circling back to one of the points I made, where I mentioned the third way. Now, this is based off of another book, which I'll link down below, but there is said that there is the three ways. The implementation of the three ways is where DevOps came from. And the first way being flow, the second way being feedback, and the third way being continual growth and experimentation, so like continual improvements. To elaborate a little bit on each of these, the flow is to increase the throughput. And to increase the throughput, you need to understand where your constraints are, where your bottlenecks are, and understand what work in progress is, understand different types of work. The Phoenix Project, which is a book I highly recommend to anyone that works in IT, I guarantee you will be able to relate most of the characters in that book to somebody in your work career. I found it fascinating and quite enjoyable, to be fair, without a shadow of a doubt. And in this book, they talk about all the three ways and identifying these work in progress and unplanned changes. It's completely changed the way in which I work on a daily basis, the way I want to record my own work, the way that I want to make sure that I'm helping the business achieve its goals, so that one day we can call ourselves a company that implements DevOps as a whole. The first way of flow also includes visualizing the work. So identify it first and then visualize it, so we can actually, grade the work. Is it a required change? Is it a needed change? Things like Kanban boards, are really, really helpful for this sort of thing. You'll hear people saying Jira, and Jira, well, 9 times out of 10 on Jira, you can use a Kanban board, and that's what you should be doing if you want to promote the DevOps culture. The second way is feedback. Now, feedback is all about promoting the feedback loop. So it involves not only having feedback in the first place from everybody, including our customers, engineers, operations, that blameless culture, again, creating feedback, fail fast, but also reducing the time between feedback. So it's all about going from one deployment a quarter to, in the book they reference 10 deployments a day. 10 deployments a day, even to me, feels a little bit scary, but you look at these big tech companies like Google, they are doing that. They are doing hundreds of deployments a day. And it's a fail fast strategy, and it clearly works because these companies are growing. Third way is the continual learning and experimentation. And this is what causes business growth, because the faster that you can recover from a failure, the faster you can introduce new things, the faster that you can test and experiment and grow as a business. If you're able to develop and experiment and create a new feature, and you can deploy that and test it faster than anybody else, you're going to get that. You're going to be the first one to the market. So that third way is really the key result to actually expanding the business and growing further. So in a nutshell, the 3 ways are flow, which is reducing bottlenecks and identifying the work. You've got feedback, which is across the business communication, feedback loops from customers, external and internal. The third way is continual learning and experimentation, which is all about promoting business growth, the opportunity to experiment and celebrate failures. Don't be afraid to fail fast and fail hard, because that's how people make all these big, bold moves out in technology. They try. If it fails, it fails. Hey, accept it, own it, don't blame it, and just move on from it, and then try something else new. Initially, going into everything, I understood DevOps to be a role that I could apply for, and I could say that I do. Whereas now, I don't know if it's a role that I can apply for, but more of a mindset that I can have and that I can promote that within the business that I'm working in. It's a cultural understanding, a blameless situation from every department, from HR, finance, operations and development, that we're all working together towards collective goals for the business. For anyone who wants to discuss it further, please leave a comment down below. I'll be really keen to understand your views on DevOps, what it means to you, your understanding of it. Anybody that's interested, I highly recommend the Phoenix Project, the DevOps Handbook, and also the Unicorn Project, which is, I think it's 5 years after the Phoenix Project came out. It's a project that was actually created within the Phoenix Project story. Another fantastic book, really helps focus the way in which I want to work and that I want to develop as an engineer. As always, I'd like to thank you all for watching this video. If you do have any feedback for me, please leave in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Anyone that does want to have a further discussion about the topic, reach out in the comments. Take care.